I would like to thank the organizers of this occasion for having invited me to participate. I feel blessed. I spent the years from 1968 to 1973 not only as his music director and pianist, but also as his close friend and confidant. Those were very eventful years for both of us. Some of that time was spent doing the Bobby Darin Amusement Company in 1972 and the Bobby Darin Show in 1973. For those of us who knew Bobby Darin, it's not so much that Mac is back, because he has never really left us. He forever remains in our hearts, our minds, and our memories. I hope I played a small part in his short life, because he certainly played, and he put a huge imprint on mine. Sitting at the piano, I had a front row seat to one of the greatest talents in the history of modern American music. I also witnessed a parade of stars who came nightly to pay tribute to Bobby Darin, and who walked away shaking their heads in total amazement, hoping that maybe some of that talent might rub off on them. I am here today to honor his memory and to thank all of you who have made this event possible. I speak for Dodd, Steve Blauner, Andrea Yeager Darin, Terry Koenig, Andy DeDea, my wife Kay Rosario, and my friend Eileen Norman. I believe Bobby richly deserves this honor. As one of his idols, Sophie Tucker, sang, "Some of these days you're gonna miss me, honey. Bobby, we miss you very much." Thank you, everyone.
Hi, Las Vegas. I want to thank you for honoring one of the greatest entertainers that God ever put on the planet in the name of Bobby Darin. I first met Bobby Darin when I was 16 years old. Actually, I was 15 years old, along with Donnie Kirshner, who was his songwriter partner and manager and a good friend. And the first time I saw Bobby was at the Copacabana, New York City. And I'll never forget it. I sat in the front row with Donnie and Sheila, and Steve Lawrence and Edie Gourmet. And there I was, this 15-year-old wide-eyed at the Copacabana, of all places, the legendary club of clubs. And out came this entertainer who did impressions and swung with a band like nobody but Sinatra could swing, and played the keyboards and was soulful like nobody else but Ray Charles. He was able to sit down and play the folk guitar like he was Bob Dylan, and then some. He then went on and played the drums and the vibes, and he played the lights and he played the audience. He danced, he joked, he was funny, and more importantly, he was kind to a 15-year-old kid. Gave him his time, sat with him, became friends with him, and then eventually came a time, a dark day in Bobby's life and in my life, when he knew he was not going to be long for this world. And I met him on Sunset Boulevard with his musical director, Bob Rosario. And Bob Rosario, known on my variety show as Rosie, "Hit it, Rosie," was literally bequeathed, literally. He turned to Bobby and he said, "Listen, Bobby, I'm a sick man. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I think Tony's got a chance to become a big star. That new record of his, Yellow Ribbon, may be his Mac the Knife." And sure enough, Bobby did pass. And sure enough, I did end up working with the great Bob Rosario as my conductor. Imagine, my childhood idol, his conductor, my conductor. His drummer, my drummer. His guitar player, D.K. Kelvin, my guitar player. All because Bobby said, go with Tony. And now I have the opportunity to make sure that this star on the Walk of Fame of Las Vegas, the city of great entertainers, greatest shows, the greatest city, the place where Bobby loved to work the most. And now I'm going to have the opportunity to share with all of you, his fan club, who deserves great praise in putting this all together, and Steve Blount and his managers, and Bobby's son, Dodd, and all the Darin family put together this wonderful moment in Las Vegas to pay tribute to a man who should never be forgotten. Look out, old Bobby is back, to be looked down on, looked up to, and thank every time they pass this star. So Tony Orlando, saying thank you for this opportunity. God bless you all. Enjoy the ceremonies. He would want it no other way. Celebrate. Again, look out, old Bobby is back.
I first met Bobby Darin back in 1962 when I was working as a accompanist for the Chad Mitchell Trio. We were opening up for Lenny Bruce at the Crescendo Club in LA, and Bobby was out in the audience. And after the show he came backstage and said, "Hey, I like what you were doing up there. I'm thinking about putting a folk segment in my show, and I wondered if you wanted to work for me." I said, "Well, I've already got a job with the Chad Mitchell Trio." He said, "How much are they paying you?" I told him. He said, "I'll double it." And that was it. 2 weeks later, I was working with Bobby Darin at the Flamingo in the main room, and we had 2 microphones and 2 spotlights, and I was up there playing my 12-string and singing harmony, and it was a big career boost for me. I followed Bobby around. I used to ask him questions about show business and how to make it, and he'd give me answers like, "Well, you have to get up in front of audiences as much as you can. It doesn't matter how good you are in front of a mirror." And rock and roll. He said, "Rock and roll. If you get a rock and roll hit, you can do anything you want." So that was wonderful advice. He gave me a lot of opportunities. He hired me as a songwriter in the Brill Building, and my job was to listen to the radio and write songs like the ones that were out there. And about that time, the Beatles came out, and I heard in the Beatles elements of folk music and rock and roll at the same time, and that gave me an idea. So I went back out to the West Coast and formed a band called the Byrds, based on that sound of combining folk and rock, and we got a #1 hit with a Dylan song, Mr. Tambourine Man. A little while later, I was over at NBC in Burbank, and we were doing a TV shoot, and Bobby Darin was in the hall. I bumped into him, and he said, "Hey, are you fronting that group?" And I said, "Yeah." I could tell he was real happy with the lessons he taught me and how well I'd learned them. I'd like to thank everybody for giving me the opportunity to thank Bobby Darin and to give him the honor that he deserves.
Hello, I'm Petula. And as you may or may not know, I worked a couple of times with Bobby, and before I worked with him I was already a big fan. But believe me, after I worked with him, I was an even bigger fan. He was so amazing to work with. What a great singer. I mean, I think an underrated singer. He was terrific. And he was cute. And we just had such a wonderful time singing together, and I'm just so happy to have this chance to be with you and to celebrate with you, and I still find it very hard to believe that he's not with us anymore, but in a way, in some ways he is with us. He will always be with us in our hearts and minds. So I just want to say congratulations to our lovely Bobby. And thank you for giving me this chance of being with you today.
He's known as Mr. Las Vegas, and he was our very first star recipient. Please welcome Sir Wayne Newton.
Thank you very, very much. It is a great thrill and honor to be here, an honor beyond words. I want to thank the Darin committee, who worked so diligently and tirelessly to put this together. You guys have done an incredible job. I want to thank the city and the Walk of Fame, because the one thing that the Walk of Fame has never done is forget those people that have contributed so tremendously to this town, and Bobby Darin certainly epitomizes that. As I was looking at the film and listening to all of our incredible speakers, and Gary, his brother, and it reminded me that everybody out here and everybody up here, we all have our stories about Bobby, how he affected our lives, what he means to us, and as much as he has been gone for quite a while from this earth, his spirit is prevalent every single day. There isn't a day go by that I don't hear one of his songs, or watching a television show, all of a sudden there's a clip of Bobby or a track of one of his songs. The one thing that has not been touched upon here, I could go on for days with personal stories about Bobby Darin, tell you what he's meant to me in my life and my career. All those things you already know, all of you. So to simply repeat them and tell you that Donkey Shane was given to me by Bobby Darin. He then produced the record session that has gone on to become whatever that has become. He produced all of my earlier hits that I enjoyed. But the one thing that's not been touched upon is his tremendous sense of humor. Bobby was the older brother to me, and he was appearing up in Tahoe at Harris there, and I was down here at the Fremont in the lounge, and a tremendous, tremendous snowstorm hit Tahoe, which for those of you that know Tahoe, that's not, it happens quite often. But all the roads in were closed and all the roads out were closed, and I called Bobby because I knew he'd be kind of depressed, as all performers are when you realize that the only people that can come and see you are already in the hotel. Nobody can come in and nobody can leave. And so I called Bobby and I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Man, it's snowing. It's snowing like a banshee up here." And he said, "Nobody can come in, nobody can go out." I said, "Bobby, ease up. You cannot change the weather." He said, "Give me a week." That was truly his sense of humor, and that epitomized what Bobby Darin was all about. We could talk about his unequal talent for days, and when you think that all that he accomplished in 15 years on this earth, professionally, a Grammy, an Academy of Motion Picture nomination, hit record after hit record. And yet, as I look at you, how many years has Bobby been gone? It would be difficult in this day and time to get this many people to honor somebody that left last week, much less somebody that's been gone this length of time. Bobby will never be gone, and his passing is really truly being honored here today, because as most of you know in this audience, we never really got a chance to grieve for Bobby's passing, because in his inimitable style, he contributed his body to science. So there was never a funeral, there was never a place to go, there was never a place to grieve. And maybe that's kind of good, because it also means that Bobby truly never left us. We carry him with us every day of our life. And because of what he was, and upon his passing, I remembered writing something that has stuck with me. And it said, "It really doesn't matter how it all ends for me. The only thing that truly matters in life for any of us are the hearts and souls that we touch along the way." Bobby Darin touched a lot of hearts and souls, as evidenced by the people here today. All of our lives, and certainly mine, is a whole lot better because Bobby Darin spent some time with us here. I thank you.